Welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
We're going to try this again. We just recorded 15, 20 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't record 15 or 20 minutes ago.
We spoke to a microphone for about that long.
Yeah. Oh, well. Sometimes that happens. In fact, that's happened a couple of times recently.
I'm glad we caught it now.
Yeah. We didn't get too far into it. But...
No, but you were telling me how my thoughts on Star Wars were wrong.
Well, I stand by that. All right, so what's going on? We can kind of recap quickly what we talked about before.
Okay, you asked if we should talk about behind the scenes. I like to make stuff here.
Yes.
And I think that is a yes.
Okay.
The yays have it.
Yays. All you yays. Yahoos.
So what's been going on behind the scenes? We'll start there.
All right, yeah, that's a good idea. We are currently working on a bunch of different things at one time, and we put out a video today of the cat tree where you were way more on camera.
I was on the TV. Yep.
You did voiceover.
Yep.
Yeah. What did you think about that process? I mean, obviously you've been a part of this for a while, but
yes. So my thoughts on that process. Hold on, real quick. So that's one thing, clearing your throat.
Oh yeah.
So whenever you go to speak on either on camera or to the thing, like your throat magically just clogs up full of mucus and steak or whatever else you've had like 4 days ago, just like
yep.
You talk like Jabba. But I like the process. Sorry. So like I had made YouTube videos and they're nowhere near the caliber that we make them here. And so I'm good. So the backstory is that we have these really big projects going on that we're kind of nibbling away at. And you went to go do one, and I went to go do the shorter one that was kind of CAD and CNC heavy. So it really didn't need me to be on camera the entire time. I could just kind of set it up, let it go, and then we'll come back together at the end. So while you were off doing things, I spoke to the camera. I turned the camera on. I'm like, oh, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And then about halfway through the project, we realized we had to change gears. And so this was like the third iteration of the thing that we were making. And then you became a lot more heavily involved. And you stood behind the camera, just like you did for the Bits video that I did. And there was a dramatic difference with you actually watching and paying attention to me just like talking. And the whole time you're like, just talk to me. I'm like, yeah, I know. I can just talk to you. But then your brain goes to mush and your vocal cords deflate and... It was so much different. I don't know why.
Well, I was going to ask, do you think, and you can be honest, do you think that has to do with it being me standing there or just a person standing there?
It's probably you. I mean, because you're a professional at this. This is what you do, and you're extremely skilled at what you do, and you've got this down to a science. So every time I can stand behind the camera and I can record you, you've got the formula going on in your head. And so I have my formula going on in my head, and those two are definitely not the same. Because I haven't been doing this as long as you have. I haven't perfected that art. And so I have what I think I want to deliver or what I have in my head as the story. And you could have what you think is going to be right. And you're like, oh, say it like this or try it like this or try it like that. And so I have to stop what I think I would naturally do. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what he's saying is right. What I have in my head is a lesser version of right. And so I have to try to unlearn or unthink or prepared to say, yeah. And so I've got to reconnect all the wires to tell a different story or say something in a different way. And so I think that's maybe why there was such a weird little, I was a computer that was kind of ticking. You're like, try it like this. I'm like, I don't know how to say those words.
Well, you did a good job.
Thank you.
It's weird having a video like that come together in large part without me. That is definitely something that just feels strange. I know it's almost inevitable, that things will need to happen without me more and more over time. Well, not that's I don't quite mean that, but there will have to be more things that can happen without me over time. And it's just a weird thing because I've always been just 100% a part of so much of it. Even like letting go of the editing a long time ago, that was kind of an interesting thing. But I wasn't ever like, I love editing so much, I'm going to miss this. It was like, oh, I got to edit this thing for 8 hours again. So
I think with the Bits video that I did, this was a little different because I guess it was like the big leagues. That seemed like the JV team. And so you're like, oh, you're just going to do voiceover. I'm like, holy crap, he wants me to do voiceover. I'm like, well, I know how to speak.
It's
But again,
the same thing.
you've got it, like, when I watch you run through a first draft of a video, and then you're like, all right, you sit up in your chair, you pull the microphone over, and you just go, and you speak in a very succinct way. You know how to kind of take different shots and wrap them up in a very explicit manner. And I'm very long form. I can talk way longer than I need to. So I was really nervous about that. I'm like, all right, I gotta say what I gotta say at the right time and say nothing more. And it went well. You weren't in the room. I think if you were in the room, same thing.
I intentionally left the room
Yeah.
so that you wouldn't have to worry about it. But yeah, well, that's cool, man.
It was neat. It was a very neat experience, and it's quite humbling. I mean, there are a lot of people that would honestly love to be a part of this, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. But I mean, there's that part that's like you talk about surrendering. Like, you just mostly surrendered a video to me, and that's a lot of trust. I didn't take it lightly, and it was neat.
Good.
It was very humbling. So, I'll make some type of raffle so that next time this comes around, I can have a stand-in if somebody wins the raffle or engagement.
Oh, is this thing done? I almost have an arm done. I think. Maybe. How?
Oh yeah, so we got to redo that. What are you working on?
I'm still working on the Shore Trooper Bandai model, and I just made a little arm. Beep 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 beep. We adjusted the cameras a little bit. Somebody asked if we could raise the cameras for the video, and so you can see you're looking down a little bit on what we're working on instead of across it. Yours looks better than mine. Anyway,
Mine is set back further,
maybe that's it.
and I think I just have more going on.
Yeah.
So I'm working on the Lego Ideas pop-up book, the Once Upon a Brick. And so if you're watching the video, that's very apparent. So I'm trying to get some scale happening on my little half.
Well, you have that giant book,
Yeah.
and so you can see that. Mine's like a tiny little arm. Whatever. Yeah, so you're working on the Once Upon a Brick.
Yep.
Which part?
So the Once Upon a Brick comes with two different fairy tale scenes. It's fairy tale fables? I don't know what it is. So it's got the Little Red Riding Hood, and it has her little cottage, and it's got the wolf and some ripped up clothes, which I think is kind of cool. And these articulate in the center as the book closes. So there's this one, and there's the Jack and the Beanstalk that's over there. Those are the last two bags. Which I'm pretty stoked about doing that one because it swings upward, like the beanstalk is tall, so it adds a lot of vertical height and articulates. And I think using some string. So I've got to get, not that I want to get through, but I got to get through Red Riding Hood to get to the Jack and the Beanstalk one, which I'm pretty excited about. So I'm going to plug along today. And it kind of helps that whatever messed up, and so I'm halfway done with Red Riding Hood's house. Just the magic of editing.
Get to keep working. Yeah, I don't know. This guy, it looks like he still has quite a bit to go. Cool little arm. But I would like very much to have him done so that I could move on to something else. It's one of the drags. Ooh, did you hear that?
That snapped. Was that a snap or was that a
No, it's
click?
a snap. And like they have flex so you can get full range of motion. That's so cool. Like you can press it in.
But that was a good crack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like there's a ball and socket for the shoulder, so it has full range of
appropriate.
motion. But then the socket is on some sort of a motion too that can pull in and out. So you have, look at all that. I mean, for a model. Like,
And it has enough tension where it'll stay? Oh, yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
That's impressive. I thought that snap sound was a bad one and that the ball and socket was way too loose. But no, that's
Look
clever.
at all that. It's got rotation on the bicep. Like all the stuff that we had to figure out for the big giant one.
Yeah, they just did.
They've got it all built in.
Smart people at Bandai.
Yeah, these models are really awesome. If you're ever looking for a model to do, the Bandai kits, whether it's a character like this or a ship or, I mean, they've got them for all different genres and stuff, not just Star Wars, obviously, but they're really nice and they're snapped together. You don't have to have any tools. If you have a knife, you can clean up the edges and stuff, but you don't have to paint them. You don't have to glue them. It's all, everything's snap.
And if you are interested in the things that we're making, I know we talk about like set number, whatever. We'll link it in the show notes. We have a kit. We use kit.com. And so it's kind of accumulates all the things, and you can buy these if you want. So it's a one-stop shop for all of the models and Lego kits that we've made.
Yes.
And I'll put that in the show notes. So if you are interested and you want to purchase these for yourself or your loved ones for the holidays, you can.
And those are affiliate links.
Yep, those are affiliate links.
So they do kind of come back and help the show and help us, help I Like to Make Stuff, you know? You can also, if you, since it came up, we don't have any specific like support for this show, but this is a production of I Like to Make Stuff. So if you want to help out the show, you can go to Patreon. Probably be the best, simplest way. Just support all the stuff that we put out, which is a bunch now. Realized recently that on a normal week, we put out a different piece of content every single day.
Yeah.
We haven't been lately because stuff is so crazy. We've let the bits, they're taking a little break until we have time to get them. But bits on Monday, this on Tuesday, live stream on Wednesday, project video on Thursday, and making it on Friday. That's a lot of stuff. Which is partly why we were talking about talking about behind the scenes stuff here, because there's so much that happens all the time, and we can't capture it all on video.
No, and people are asking about behind the scenes videos because we've put those out, but they are not easy to make.
Not at all.
Because you have to. The thing about whenever we make these videos, like the project video, it's an all-day affair. So imagine that you're at your job and you are just like heads down, chugging and just going on whatever project you're working with. And someone's like, oh, hey, can you stop periodically and work on this other thing really quick and then just deliver them both at the same time? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and they have to kind of overlap. And so you have to kind of shift your mindset and stop with one and like, okay, now talk directly to the camera in a sillier way. And then now get back to your more professional voice, and it's not easy to do. So it may be some misconception that a behind-the-scenes video is just like, oh, just cut out all the funny parts.
Nope.
And that's a blooper reel. That a behind-the-scenes video has to have like a storyline and things to it. So they're not as easy as I originally thought that they would be.
And for like a movie production, there's the film crew, and then there's a behind-the-scenes film crew.
Yeah.
Entirely separate group of people with a different motivation, different everything. And that is their job, is just to capture that. And obviously we can't afford to have somebody that's job is to just capture behind the scenes stuff and edit it and upload it and all that stuff. So it is more difficult than you would think.
Because even when we go to maker fairs and things, I mean, that's the first question is, are we going to record this? And if so, how is it going to be different than the last one? Because it can't just be like, here's me walking around looking at 3D printers, which I'm pretty sure some people want. But at the same time, there's no story to that. You're just, I don't know, you're just being a voyeur.
Yeah. And it doesn't add value. I mean, we do try to add value to the stuff that we put out in some way, even if it's entertainment value. But it just walking around and showing 3D printers over and over, it doesn't really add anything. So yeah. So anyway, here, behind the scenes talk, we are working on a room renovation in production right now. We are working on pre-production for another room renovation.
Yeah.
We did the cat tree.
Yep.
We just finished a piece of furniture for one of those room renovations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something, RTD2 is in production. In production.
There's bits videos that are also deliverable now. The bits videos have been a little more sparse because there haven't been sponsors for them, so it's easier to kind of take a break and focus on all the other things because they are the ancillary piece of content. But I mean, if they're sponsored, they're not. It's a deliverable just like a project video is.
Yeah. And
so now there's more of those. And so there's planning and research and storylines and all the things.
Yeah, so we got a lot going on, and it's going to carry through. It's weird. I was telling this on Making It the other day. Like, usually, this time of year, December is like everything starts to slow down. Everybody, is harder to get in touch with. Everybody's doing holiday stuff. They take off work. They got to, just everything starts to slow. And I feel like we are going...
That is not the case.
Full steam ahead, uphill.
Yep.
And the closer we get to January 31st... the faster we have to go. That's the way I feel right now. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is just out of character for this time of year. Because Jimmy was saying the other day that it's like this is when I get to take time off and sit down and relax, and it's always weird to relax and stuff. And I'm like,
I could
be
probably I could put a blow up mattress right over there and still feel a little bit behind.
It's
But
weird.
It's good though.
It is good.
And your opinion as you've been a small business owner for a long time. You've worked independently from home on your own. I've been part of the machine. Like I worked at a job. And so when you're really, really busy, it's like you come home and you're like, ugh, like I'm so tired. Like all these people that I got to work with. And you have this weird like contention with your busyness or that your efforts, while they may be intellectually kind of satiating, like, you're at work.
There's a separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I leave here, I'm still thinking about the things that we need to do or the things that I need to do or how it's all going to go together. And so it's not that it detracts from family time. Don't misconstrue that. Is that I love to think about those things. It's work that I want to do, and it's thought that occupies part of my brain that is welcome.
Yeah.
To where when I left Lockheed, I walked out the door, like, if I was on vacation for a week, I could literally forget every password that I had, most of the procedures that had been in place ever since I worked there because it didn't matter.
Right.
And I feel like the stuff that we're doing here, I mean, we're making content, but on the grander scale, it affects people and it matters more. Mm-hmm. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I've said this before too, but I saw a quote one time that said, yay, it's Friday, unless you own your own business, and then it's always Wednesday. Mm-hmm. It's the absolute truth. It's just crazy. Like, I have a hard time, even though I hang out with my family, I try to be fully present with them. It's still hard to just decide not to think about that stuff because no matter what you get done, there is always something else. And there is always a thing that you could go do. You don't have to, and that's the thing, the practice, I think, is to decide not to go always do the things that could be done, but it's always there. And so anytime that like the kids go to bed, to sit down, Jenny's busy, and I'm not engaged with her somehow, then it's just like my mind immediately goes to, okay, what do we need to do tomorrow? Like, we forgot to get this thing or whatever. It's just the default. So when all the other stuff steps out, work comes back into my head. And that's not a bad thing as long as it, I think, stays in check.
Yeah, it's definitely when it stays in check. And that's something that I'm learning to do, something that in your balancing metaphor that you talked about in the book and whenever you speak to people, like that's the thing that I'm having to learn is that whenever I get home, not that I don't look on my computer or check my phone or things for work-related stuff, but it's, I'm home now.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to apologize. I didn't have to, but I apologized to the kids the other night. And it was weird, but we were sitting at dinner, and they never say anything about, like, why aren't you up here? I mean, they ask if I'm done with work, but they don't complain about me being at work when I'm at work because they know that there's a time for that. There's a time for this. But we were sitting at dinner, and I was like, to Jenny and the kids all, I was like, I'm sorry that I haven't been up here as much lately. I'm coming up later this time of year. I'm not seeing you as much. I mean, I always put them to bed. I always have dinner together, but it's just not as much.
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks now. And they were all super cool about it. They were like, it's okay. We know that you have a lot to do, and it won't last forever, and, we understand. But it was just weird that I felt the need to kind of be like, guys, I'm sorry I'm not here. I mean, I'm here.
Yeah.
But I'm not here.
Well, that's...
I don't know.
That's really mature of you to be accountable to them, which I know is something that we've talked about before with the screen-free parenting thing, to be accountable to them. But yeah, it's...
I just wanted to make sure that they understood that, like, I took notice of it. Because as a kid, you can easily see, like, my parents are busy. They're not around when I want them to be or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then to see that your parent can acknowledge that, I think says something, even though it doesn't really fix the problem. At least they know that I'm conscious of the fact that I'm, for these month or two or whatever, I'm busier than I would normally be.
Well, I'm going to go home and do that very thing now. Because, my kids, we eat a little earlier because I've got 3 small kids. And so the last couple nights, like, they've already eaten dinner. And they're in there winding down, kind of playing before pajamas and bedtime. And so I've been on brushing teeth and helping put kids to bed duty. And even that, I'm not very good at.
Teeth are hard.
Well, they suck at brushing their teeth and their breath stinks. So, yeah, that's definitely something I need to go home tonight and set down the ones that can understand and acknowledge that. That's...
I think a lot of that, a lot of people cannot control their schedule like we have a lot of control. And even just making the most of the time that you do have counts for a whole lot. Being just really conscious of when I'm with them, then I am with them. And not letting your mind be super distracted. Sometimes that's the best that you can do. And that's super important. And I still want to try to do that, but I wanted to acknowledge to them that I haven't been around as much. And I'm talking like I go up 30, 45 minutes later than normal. It's not like I'm not around. But it's not going to stop for a little while because we have so much like renovation and stuff to do. So I wanted to like point it out to them, let them know that we were aware. And I want to try to figure out how to actually get them involved in it. I don't know if we can or not. Because it's a lot of, tile and stuff that kids can't really help with if you're trying to be efficient.
Well, I tried to get Deacon the other day involved, excuse me. And he's been looking for ways to make money because the holidays are coming up, and if he wants something, he's being told no. And so his solution to that is not be patient and wait for Christmas. It's to, okay, well, I just buy it myself. And so like we've talked about before, he has a job opportunities little thing, and he can go make money when he needs to, but he doesn't. And so I've been making these Christmas ornaments lately, which has been mega time consuming. I made some of my dog, and a bunch of other people wanted some for their dogs. And apparently I was tapped into a mega Instagram community full of people who love bulldogs. And so I've just been at night after kids go to bed making, vector drawings of people's bulldogs. So he saw me making them last night, and he asked what I was doing. And I'm like, yo, this is a way for you to make money. If you don't want to empty the dishwasher, then maybe look at a way to do this. So I tried to get him involved, and he didn't want to. And I was like, well, okay, this is how much money I've made. And I showed him. He's like, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, you can have some of this if you help me do work. He's like, I don't want to. And then his response was he wanted to sell stuff that he owned. He's like, has a collection of How to Train Your Dragon books. He's like, I could sell those to people. I was like, oh, yeah? No, first off. Because,
let's talk about supply and demand, kid.
Yeah. And I'm like, and how much are you going to sell these books for? He was like, probably $10. I was like, a book? He's like, no, the whole set for like $10. I'm like, okay. No. But yeah, I've been trying to get him involved and for him to understand, like, all right, well, I have to do work so that we can live. But at the same time, I don't want to ignore you. So it's a fine tightrope to walk.
Yeah. And I have kind of, I'm super privileged in a lot of ways. But one of the things that I've always been really aware of is that I've never been in a position to not be home with my kids that was out of my control. I don't know how to say that very well.
What do you mean?
I have worked for myself.
Oh, yeah.
Since I got out of college, except for the time that I worked for Dell. But I worked for Dell at my house. And it was a remote situation where, like, I didn't really have to work any particular time. I just needed to get the work done. And I had way more time than I had work. Yep. So it was, like, easy to get it done in, a normal work hour. And so everything else past that, where I've not been with the kids, it's been because I decided to. And there's a lot of people that, for the sake of their kids, can't be with them so that they can actually have food and a home and stuff. So I've never been in that position. Look at that. That's pretty awesome.
Little Red Riding Hood's house.
So I'm really blessed in that I've never, I've never had to be away from them. I just choose to for the sake of different things. So that's kind of weird to think about, but at the same time...
Well, one thing that you and I talked about, or I don't know, I may have just brashly declared it, whenever I came and started working here, was that I didn't want to have to ask permission to someone to go be with my kids.
Right.
Because at Lockheed, like most jobs, you have vacation time. And if you don't have vacation time, or if your manager or boss or whoever needs you to do something, like, you have to tell your kids no, or where you're so tied to a thing where they have to grant you permission on some special basis.
Yeah.
And you have to take stock in perspective on like, well, why do I have this job in the first place? It's to take care of my family. I was like, well, if you're not going to allow me to take care of my family when they need me the most, like, then you're counterproductive. But that's no one can, or not a lot of people are insane like I was and just upped and left. But it really is a blessing to be able just to be there when you need to be there, and then not when they don't need you to be there.
Because they really don't sometimes. I mean, I know that's a big thing that I've said a bunch of times, is like sometimes they absolutely need you, and if you don't do your part, then you're failing. There's a lot of times they couldn't care less whether you are in the country or not.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, check this out. Where's the camera?
Okay, everybody watch the camera. He's opening his book. Oh, and the little pop. Oh, that's so cool. A little house pops up in a Lego book.
Like that.
That is
So
super
book
cool.
made of Legos, and then it just boop, house pops up. That's super cool.
That is very cool.
Neato.
That's a cool set. I like it. So, what else we got? Well, we talked about before the recording stopped. We were talking about Star Wars a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying that I heard a rumor that
love rumors.
The episode 9 trailer would be out before the end of the month. And the movie doesn't come out until next December. And I was just saying that kind of blows me away.
Maybe. I remember we talked before about why December was movie sparse. And I thought maybe, not intentionally, like if they weren't ready to release a movie, like what are they going to do for December because they're missing out? Maybe it's just the season of trailers.
Maybe.
All of them. Spider-Man, go. Avengers, here you are.
Yeah.
Star Wars, why not?
Frozen 2.
Frozen 2, throw it at them.
Apparently the only thing coming out...
Lion King.
Well, that's already out. Mary Poppins Returns.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we talked about how there was no Disney movie coming out in December? Mary Poppins Returns is the one, which seems like a big gamble.
But I mean, you got Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel. He's got 3 names. I don't remember the other one.
That guy.
Are 2 of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Miranda.
it'll be good. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's like a gamble as it won't be a good movie, but for that to be the tentpole, that seems like a reach because I mean, I like Mary Poppins from when I was before me, but when I was a kid, I watched it. My kids have seen it, but it's not like a thing. They're like, sweet, another Mary Poppins movie. You know, it just seems like a lot to bet on.
Someone's here.
Yeah. Hey, we're recording right now.
Someone's yelling poo poo. But I think.
Sorry, we're gonna cut that out. But one of my kids just came to the stairs and yelled poo poo.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think Mary Poppins can appeal to a broader audience, maybe.
Then what?
Star Wars?
Really?
Maybe.
I mean, maybe.
Well, I don't know.
That I don't know about that.
No, I'm disagreeing with myself the more I think about it. But I think I saw in one of the really quick trailers of that movie that Dick Van Dyke is back, but he is playing the old creepy banker dad that he also played in the original Mary Poppins, but he was in old man makeup, and now he's not in old man makeup.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that was him in the original movie? Oh, he's super creepy.
Or, I mean, maybe I would have known that if I'd seen it recently. I don't remember. I haven't seen it in so long that
I've seen it somewhat recently because I remember as a kid, like tolerating that movie. Like, the lady with the tuppence used to freak me out.
Oh yeah, the bird lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, she freaked me out too.
I still don't know what a tuppence is. It's some form of currency I'm gathering.
I assume so. I don't know.
Oh no!
What was that?
Okay, this is the first time I've seen a microfig.
Oh, cool.
So this is Jack. All right, I'm taking an aside really quick. This is the Jack and the Beanstalk set. So to make the giant is a regular size minifig, and Jack is a microfig. The littlest, teeniest, tiniest. And I almost dropped him on the floor, and he would have been gone forever.
Yep.
That is small. So you're excited for episode 9?
I am.
Surprise.
I know. What I was saying earlier before the recording stopped was that my friend Mike you really didn't like Solo.
Oh, now you're using different terminology.
Well, okay, you hated Solo. That's what I said before. But I was trying to soften the blow. You hated Solo, and that you said it, so...
I didn't say
maybe you didn't say it. Anyway, you didn't like it. And you did like Last Jedi. My friend Mike, who we talked about last week, was in town. He's a huge Star Wars fan. Maybe listening. What's up, Mike?
Hi, Mike.
And he had the opposite reaction, where he really enjoyed Solo because he thought it was a lot of fun, and he really didn't like Last Jedi to the point to where he only saw it once in the theater, and that's the only time he's seen it. And for somebody like me or Mike who loves Star Wars, that's pretty wild.
I respect Mike's opinion.
I've even seen the prequels more than once.
Oh, so have I.
I hate them, but I've seen them more than once. But to only have seen one of those movies one time is... He really hated it.
Is he... Now, is that just like, I don't want to go back to the movie theater to watch it, or is he against watching it?
No. He actually bought it.
Okay.
But then hasn't watched it.
Okay, so, I mean, that's telling, but not super telling.
Right.
That's you don't want to go back to the theater, but you're still going to own it.
Oh, yeah, I totally would get that. I mean,
I don't want to own Solo. I have no desire to buy that movie.
So we bought it because I'm just going to buy them because I like them and I want to have them and I want my kids to be able to see them. And we've watched it at least 2 times, maybe more. And the more I see it, the more I like it. It's not perfect. It's goofy. It's got some stuff in it that I wish they had rethought or whatever. But it's actually a lot of fun. And I don't know, the kids seemed like it too, so.
What?
You don't have to. I'm not trying to convince you.
I'm not.
I'm just saying it's interesting because when I saw it in the theater, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's not my favorite one by far, but yeah, it's all right. But the more I see it, I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And there's little things here and there that I enjoy. Like, I think he acts more like what I would expect Han Solo to.
Okay.
Little bits here and there than when I saw it the first time. I'm like, oh, yeah, that is kind of the way he said that or the way whatever,
So when I watched it and I didn't like it, I had an internal struggle. I go, I think I should watch this again to give it a fair shot. And I went, I really don't want to watch it again. I guess Mike and I are the inverse here. I thought Last Jedi was a story, was legitimate, and it was the middle of a story. True. So anything in the movie where I'm like, well, I don't get what they're talking about, I chop that up to it's an interim.
Right.
This will be revealed later on, hopefully. And then when episode 9 comes out, and if it's great, then I'm probably going to forget those little things until we sit here and wax intellectual about it. But for the most part, it was part of a story until Princess Leia got sucked out of the hole and then magically was undead from the worst kind of death. That separated me from the story for that moment.
I have a theory on that, but go ahead.
Okay. But Solo, I felt, was a bad story. Altogether now. If you were reading a book, I felt like I could not connect with the characters. The little things that the dice. Is he going to get the dice back? I know he's going to get the dice back. What's going to happen with the Falcon because he lost the card game? I know he gets the Falcon. You've spoiled your own movie with a much better movie. And I think the guy who played him, I didn't buy it. He could have been snarky. He could have been like, oh, the Han Solo is also kind of fun. I thought that the two directors in the movie, I felt like there were 2 different movies smushed into one.
They absolutely were.
He was like, oh, you're going down the road where you're just going to be a sarcastic, you and Chewie are going to have fun while stuff is going on. But then it wasn't. I felt like part of it, I'm like, ooh, continue with this story. And then they didn't. I'm like, oh, well, this could be funny. Tell me more. And then they didn't.
Yeah.
Let's make inappropriate, dirty sex bot jokes. And I was like, that... Ugh.
Yeah.
The whole thing, I couldn't connect with the theme, with the plot, with the characters. And for that reason, there was very few endearing parts of that movie that made me want to go back and change my opinion. And if it's on, I'll sit through it academically. But I won't be like, oh boy, let's enjoy this. I feel like I would just be trying to find a redeeming quality and trying to focus way too hard on trying to find a redeeming quality. But if it's on, I'll watch it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah. Fair enough. And, you know, I wasn't trying to change your opinion or anything. I just thought it was interesting that somebody had the opposite reaction. Because, I mean, I enjoyed both of them for different reasons and in different amounts. But
did you share any of his sentiment on The Last Jedi?
I mean, not really. Because, like, I kind of accepted when the movies came back. Well, actually, when the prequels came out, I accepted the fact that these movies are not supposed to be for us. And so, like, whereas I wouldn't want to watch the prequels, I get that my kids want to watch them because they were made in a different time for a different group of people. And so I feel like these new ones are supposed to be somewhere in the middle. Like, they're still not really for us, but they're trying to pull in, like, callbacks and familiar stuff and tone and looks of things to, you know, like, make them relevant. But I still don't think they're for us, and that's okay. They don't have to be for me. Like, I'm not selfish enough to think that, like, every movie in a genre needs to feed me, because it doesn't. And honestly, the superhero movies are going to do the same thing. In a few years, well, whenever Marvel burns out, they're going to end up rebooting all this stuff, and it's going to be tonally different, and it's going to be different number of characters, and all, you know, everyone who's a male will be female, and everyone who's black will be white, and white will be black, and they're going to switch it all around to have it different, and that's cool, and I don't have to like it. It can still be good even if I don't like it. And I think that's one of the big problems with people enjoying stuff.
It doesn't fit their expectations?
Yeah, I mean, when it inevitably has to change, they may not enjoy the change, and therefore they take it in a way, you know, they just don't like it, which is totally cool. You don't have to like it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's bad just because you don't like it.
Right.
I guess.
I took The Last Jedi as like the series finale of a TV show that you really like, to where they had to bring back all the old cast members, like, just to say goodbye to them.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so I kind of went in with, you know, that weirdness to it, that, you know, Mark Hamill's not going to be Luke Skywalker anymore. You know, Harrison Ford didn't want to be Han Solo anymore.
Yeah.
So you couldn't go forward without acknowledging that they were there and then giving those cameos so that they could say goodbye to those characters. Because you can't tell the next story without acknowledging and then wrapping up the previous one. And so I'm hoping that 9 is going to be like that springboard into the absolute next one.
Yeah, that's a good point. People that complain about, like, you know, killing off Han Solo or whatever.
You had to.
Yeah, otherwise they would have been mad if he just wasn't in it at all.
Mm-hmm. So. And again, I wholeheartedly acknowledge that people do not make movies just so I will like them. I'm sure that that's on their mind somewhere. I'm sure that I come up in some of the marketing meetings or at least a pitch meeting.
That sounds like a great idea, but what will Josh think?
Yeah, Josh is not going to dig that. And that's where I think Solo got it wrong, is they just didn't even think about me. I saw somebody on Twitter that I wanted to shake their hand, and they wrote, "You're telling me the entire time Chewbacca didn't learn a single word of English."
I think that's been explained, because I think that came up a long time ago. But I think there's something about vocal cords, like they can only make certain types of noises, which is where
humans should not be able. I understand he's a human inside that suit, but a human should not be able to articulate in Kashyyyk, Kashyikish, Wookiee-ish. I don't know how they categorize their own language. They would categorize it.
That sounded not like a Wookiee. I think they call it Wookiee. Speak Wookiee, but I could be wrong about that.
But that's how do you? And it's the same thing. Like Germany, and in Germany is Deutschland. Like, what person decided, like, oh, that's what you call your nation? No, I'm gonna call it this, something completely different. That's just how we say it. I'm like, well, why do you get to decide? Like, in Wookiee, they speak like that, and he's like, oh, this is what you're trying to say. He said this. I'm like, what? Weird translations.
I have lots of time. So one thing that's weird about this model, to jump around, they have all the instructions are in Japanese, so that's difficult. But you don't really need to read too much. Actually, not all of them. The words right arm and left arm are in English, and the word check
Check with an exclamation point.
But everything else is in Japanese. Anyway, they have different ranks who have different stuff built onto the character, and I don't know which rank is which based on the text. So I started to like put a piece on, and then I had to put a different piece on in the same place, but that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so if you want to do one of these models, first learn Japanese.
Well, that raises a question, because that says check with an exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at a lot of Asian writing, like I need to research this to see if they have exclamation points or question marks.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know, but I would imagine there has to be some punctuation.
I'm not smart enough to understand it. I need to figure this out.
Although, I guess it's possible that a language of any kind could have, instead of an exclamation or question, they have a different word.
Or the way that the sentence is formed. Because I know in French, you can form a question just by mixing up the order. Syntax. Yeah, that's true. Word structure.
True. All right, what else is going on?
What'd you think about the Captain Marvel trailer?
I was a little underwhelmed. I gotta be honest. I still think it's gonna be good, but I think the thing that got me a little like, was her. She had a bunch of like one-liner, "I'm gonna win" comments in it.
See, I don't remember those.
Maybe I need to watch it again. I watched it.
Remember, she declared herself like a part of a band of heroes, and she made a point about that.
Yeah, that was part of. I don't know. I need to watch it again. I watched it on my phone as I was falling asleep in bed.
There was like an elephant.
Yeah. I don't know. My cats kept being in the movie, and I couldn't figure that out.
I had no clothes, and I had to give a speech. It was really weird.
So, I don't know. What did you think about it?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was appropriate for her character that is not widely known, because it opened with Samuel L. Jackson doing a voiceover of like the Skrulls and the, what are they called again? The Kree?
The Kree.
The Kree. Like giving a little more backstory and understanding for people. Because I think a lot of people are going to be interested because it's a strong female character who can like blow stuff up and shoot things out of her fists, and she's a fighter pilot, or is she, or whatever. Like all those things are commanding, which is great and inspirational. That's awesome. But for a superhero in this universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like no one knows who she is.
Right.
The characters don't even know who she is. And so I think for a trailer to get people interested, to like, here's stuff that explodes. Here's her wearing a cool helmet mask thing with a mohawk, but here's a little more about her so you understand. And I thought that it was a good blend of those things to make people more interested academically and to show more cool things blowing up.
Do you know much about that character?
No. I read something one time, but it was more like about why Shazam used to be called Captain Marvel and now it's not, and it was this weird battle between DC and Marvel. But no, I don't know really anything about her.
I don't either. Which is okay.
Apparently, she's a Scree. A Scree?
Scree.
A Cree. And she's
so Skrull.
Skrulls are the bad guys.
She is a Kree, not a Scree.
She's Screech.
Yeah. I don't know anything about him. Her. And the only thing I know about the Kree is from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because they lean really heavily on that part of the universe. And so I don't know, historically, I don't know anything about that race, just from that show. And so I don't know if that's a well-rounded, like, you know, like
Green Lantern type situation where it's like a bunch of creatures from a bunch of different universes all united under...
No. I mean, it's a race of people, but I don't know, like, if what they've talked about in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the full thing, or if it's just like a tiny little, I don't know.
People had that same problem with parts of Solo and with Rogue One. Is they're like, oh, to understand that more, you should have watched this. Like, you couldn't get the whole story from the movie.
Really?
Yeah, and knowing kind of Marvel's recipe for stuff, I'm pretty sure that they're going to sum up that entire thing in a couple sentences where everybody can be on the same page. But there were people that didn't like that aspect of having supplemental content. That I just feel like the movie and the characters and
What kind of a thing would you have had to know more about?
Like on Solo, where Darth Maul shows up. Spoiler. Like, nope, Darth Maul's supposed to be dead, and no one knows why he's there. It doesn't give you any backstory. It's like, oh, you should have learned that from Rebels, or Clone Wars, or whatever it was. And same thing with Rogue One. Like, you know who these people are in this other thing. And there are people that really didn't like that because, you know, they go to a movie to be entertained by the movie, not to have homework.
Interesting. I guess I could see that if someone was a casual viewer of a movie rather than like into the whole franchise.
Yep.
But I would also kind of imagine that if you were a casual viewer, you wouldn't care that you didn't necessarily know. Like, does it matter?
I think maybe
if you're casual, does it matter that Darth Maul's there and you don't know why? Or do you?
I think maybe in the gasp of the crowd, people may feel like a little dumb. Like I've watched this movie just as long as you have. Like, why are you so much more excited than I am? Like, there's some club or something that people are left out of. But again, that's speculation.
Yeah.
But when I watched Solo, I'm like, what the heck is he doing here? Oh, that's because of this. I'm like, pfft.
Was that voice supposed to be me?
No.
Because I did that when you were.
There were other
asking
people
about it,
there.
like,
I mean, and I say people, but in that particular instance, that was me. I'm like, I love some Star Wars. And then there was this girl that was in the theater who was so much more excited at that moment. And I'm like, ooh, Darth Maul. But then she was like wigging out. And then I figured it out after the fact. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's more to that. So I feel kind of dumb. Or like I was robbed of a
reveal.
Of a really poignant moment. Because I wasn't as cool. I didn't know what that was. Or I don't have cable.
Well, I mean, that's the case with anything that has any like long-term depth or, you know, like a carried through story, I guess.
I think Rogue One did a great job because Saul Guerrero was in Rebels.
Yes.
But everything I needed to know about him, I could learn from the movie that I'm currently watching. It wasn't that I had to have that knowledge to enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Look at this tiny little gun. That is the big one that I made. It's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the pieces are really small and detailed and hard to put together.
How many? That's not a single piece?
No. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
Wow,
pieces.
that is impressive in itself.
Yeah.
So there is a tiny little gun about the size of the length of a toothpick.
The length of my finger. Shorter than my finger. And it's like a rifle. It's pretty cool. Anyway, we're almost 50 minutes in. Got anything else we want to cover today?
I tried to gather up some pros and cons so that we could kick that back off.
Oh, yeah.
I have 2.
Okay. We can do those too.
Okay. And while I was at my dad's house for Thanksgiving, I went to take a shower.
Oh, that's glad to hear that.
Yep. And he had bar soap in the guest bathroom.
Oh.
And I'm like, I wonder what people... I mean, obviously they still sell it because they still make it. But how do you feel about bar soap instead of like the gel?
I use bar soap in the shower.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're pro bar soap.
I mean, it's soap. Can you get soap dirty?
You can leave hairs and stuff on soap.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, it cleans things.
This is a new girl stance. Like, I don't clean the towel cleans me.
I don't know. I mean, in a guest bathroom, yes, I could see why that would be kind of weird because you don't know who else has guested that bathroom.
Does that matter?
I mean, I don't think it actually matters, but I could see why it would be uncomfortable. You know.
So if we went to a, I don't know, some type of maker fair or whatever kind of thing, and there's the one bathroom, and our luggage was lost, and there's one thing of soap, and I just walk out of the shower, like I got my towel, and I I smell fresh like the hotel soap. Mm-hmm. And you'd be like, okie dokie, let me pick that same soap up and rub it all over me.
I would pick up that same soap, rinse it under the water, take off the outer layer.
Okay.
Because everything under that outer layer is soap that you haven't touched yet. I would rinse that off completely, rinse off my hands, then we got a clean bar of soap.
Interesting. Okay.
What would you do if the table if the turntables? What would you do?
I don't know.
You just wouldn't bathe.
That's why
for the week.
I take a shower first. They go over to the little bottles.
Oh yeah,
bottles of facial soap by the sink because they always give you way too many.
That is.
I don't know. That's just I don't know. Bar soap just seems gross to me. I don't know why. I think it's maybe the same thing that people have. Oh, that's why people have about towels and like they feel like they're sharing some weird thing whenever you have a towel in the same bathroom that someone else.
In the same bathroom?
Yeah, like if you're going to use a towel and there's only like a towel left and it's not fresh. Not that it's like it's sopping wet. But if like someone in that bathroom has used that towel.
Oh, okay.
And you got to use that towel.
I misunderstood. Yeah, I wouldn't want to use a towel after somebody else. Because you dry all your parts, whether they're clean or not. So I don't want to use that towel.
But the towel is...
I don't care. I don't want to use that
Is
towel.
it dirty or is it just that it's like...
It's
touched someone else's butt?
It's got skin cells on it.
True.
Clean or dirty. I don't want all your skin cells on me. So I would not use somebody else's towel. But I feel like something like soap, you're only working with the outside layer. And if you rinse that off, you're not only cleaning off the skin cells that were there, but you're also revealing a clean layer underneath. I think that's pretty different than a towel.
I get that.
Which is just a big mop for skin cells.
But
there's a title for you.
But a towel, I feel you use more superficially than the soap. And I think that's what's getting me. Is it the towel it's to get the water off. But a soap, like, you got to get soap all up in your pieces.
Well, anyway, so do you have another one that you want to talk about?
Both of these are kind of gross, actually.
Oh, fantastic.
I was somewhere and someone pulled out a handkerchief and they blew their nose.
Oh, yeah.
So, 1, handkerchief, and 2, blowing your nose in public. And I say blowing your nose in public versus versus like picking your nose. Because people like, ew, picking your nose is gross. And I would argue that picking my nose is far less disgusting than blowing my nose in public.
Less disgusting from a germ perspective?
Well, I wash my hands. I wash my hands like all the time anyway.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna pick my nose and then get an eyelash off of you. That's super grody.
Poke my burrito just to make sure that it's okay. Thanks, Josh. I don't know. Like I think if you're like, I gotta blow my nose and it's like okay, you're good. It's just a necessary utility of being a human. Okay.
Most people don't.
I understand, but I'm getting there. Yeah, if it's one of the big honk ones. So I have this friend in Savannah, and she used to blow her nose no matter when it was, where it was, whatever. It was a loud duck honk. And it drove me crazy because it was like, you don't have to do that.
Deacon,
you know what I mean?
That.
No, but you don't have to. You can blow your nose, and there is noise because air is moving over stuff. I get it. But is not necessary. Somebody's going out of their way to like, hey everybody, I'm blowing my nose. Check it out.
It's like a fart for your face.
Pretty much. Like you don't have to be loud about it, usually. So, if it's one of those, I'm with you. If it's just like I got to clear out some stuff really quickly, so that I'm not like a loud breather or a situation
whistle.
like that. Yeah, that drives me crazy. Like, just take a second. Go blow your nose.
But
get rid of the nose whistle.
Not that I am shaming people to, like, go to the bathroom. But I feel it's the same thing as a fart. Like, if you're comfortable enough around someone to fart, then they wouldn't care if you're going to blow your nose kind of obnoxiously, perhaps. But, ew, it's gross. And I feel irritated when people are like, ew, don't pick your nose. I'm like, I can pick my nose
quietly.
In the ninja, most stealthy way. I can just get it, and it's gone.
I can handle this
right
now.
You will be none the wiser. I will be comfortable.
Fair enough.
Our whole situation will be better.
Yeah.
If I pulled out a hanky with my initials on it and just like, and you got the people that like and go side to side just to make sure they get
Just
all
to work it out.
Ew.
Well, and that's another thing is like the hanky versus a tissue is a thing. Like, I get it. It's maybe more environmentally friendly to have a handkerchief that you're going to wash, but then you're walking around with like a sheet of boogers in your pocket all the time, and then you got to put it in the wash with your other clothes.
And it was like a very gentleman thing to do to like, oh, hello, madam. Like, and you offer her a hanky.
This one's only slightly used.
Yeah, this. Ugh. This day I was cutting a bunch of MDF, so it's a little.
Ignore
worse
the black
for wear.
spots. I was grinding in the grinding room.
But that just seems so unsanitary.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's those were the times type situation
I
or
think it was. I think most people wouldn't do that now. If you're of a certain age. If it's a carryover from younger, obviously. But
was there a situation in the past that they were like, where it's not like a hitchhiker's guide, like always know where your towel is. It's like, make sure you have a handkerchief with you. It was a sign of class because the peasants couldn't have fancy folded pocket squares that you'd shoot boogers into.
I don't know.
Ew.
Gross. I think.
And actually, Tom Hanks' son, I forgot his first name.
Colin
Hanks. He came out with a line of like Hanks kerchiefs, I think is what they're called.
Super clever.
Where they have Hanks branded like handkerchiefs, but they're used for, I guess, all the other things you'd normally have, like a red handkerchief, maybe like a bandana-ish type thing.
Yeah. But
he calls them handkerchiefs, and so they're super mega popular in some circles, I suppose. It's gross. I think it's gross. Bar soap, I think is gross.
Even if it was your own bar soap and nobody else
But
touched
I don't
it?
need bar soap. It's slippery. Like, it seems unnecessary. It seems like one of those things that has been replaced.
Well, another thing that people, I think what you're technically supposed to do with bar soap, washcloth.
Washcloth seems disgusting to me.
I agree, but I think the idea is that you wet the washcloth, you put the soap in there, then you soap up the washcloth, put the soap away, use the washcloth.
Yep.
And that's your personal cleaning thing. But if it's in your shower, you just, whatever. Do it.
So when I was in the Army, I was issued in basic training a washcloth. And he's breakdancing.
There he goes.
And he fell. But I remember thinking, like, I don't want to use this. And they're like, no, you have a bar of soap. This is your soap. You don't get the other stuff. And I'm like, this is just gross, and I don't like it. And it seems inefficient with my time, and I need to bring stuff with me. Like, I guess you could just rub it on your hand and rub it, whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. And I am surprised, like I said, because I think it's one of those things that have been replaced, but people hold on to it because it's just what they know.
Yeah.
And did I ever tell you about the Irish Spring in candy?
What?
Okay. So when I was deployed, these well-wishers used to send these like boxes, like goodie boxes. And either like a high school or a church or whoever would send these like flat rate U.S. Postal Service sized boxes filled with candy and all kinds of cool stuff. And some of them had like shaving cream and things that, people who were deployed would need. And sometimes, most of the time, they would put a bar of Irish Spring soap in the box. And every single thing in that box smelled and tasted like Irish Spring candy.
Yeah.
So like those little orange butterscotch looking things that come in the orange wrapper, or like cinnamon candy or peppermints. It was the weirdest thing, is you would pop that in your mouth and it wouldn't taste like cinnamon or butterscotch. It would taste just like soap. Like that smell or that fragrance or that oil would permeate everything in that box. And it would overtake it. And so we'd be like, yay, and we'd open it up and like, and you'd see the little corner of the green container, like, no, it's been tainted. And I mean, somebody would eat it, but
The soap?
no, the candy. I hope nobody would.
It's
eat
okay,
the soap.
guys. I got this. And they just
Take
go
one
with
for the
soap.
team.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So I got this guy done. The model's finished, but now there's decals to put on. And I don't really want to do it.
No one's making it.
Well, that's true. But these decals are not super sticky. They don't want to grab, which is kind of weird.
I am so close to being done with this.
Anyway, we got to wrap it up because
Okay.
I got to go take over B-Dad.
Yep, me
tonight.
too.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the PI Workshop and on Twitter at Josh Makes Stuff.
You're on Twitter now.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you can find both.
Oh my god, it just exploded.
Yeah, it did. Both of us at I Like to Make Stuff, and yeah, that's it.
You should go watch the video, the cat tree video, at least 4 times.
Really bump up the viewership on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What just happened? How did that even happen?
What just happened?